What is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome in. Welcome in. It has been a hot minute since my man, Coach Craig, and I have been here. But today, we are going to talk a little bit of NFL draft. And we're going to talk about maybe what potentially could be happening with the real draft. So this is our mock 1.0. What is up, Craig?
Yeah, I'm just checking my settings because the speaker was like really loud. I'm like turning it down and it was like
I'm
down
just
to 8,
amped.
and I'm just like, no,
Man, it's been a minute. It's been a
I think
hot
it's just
minute.
because I'm
We haven't
using
been here in
Chrome.
a while. So it is
Yeah.
nice to be back, and nice to be back talking some football, talking some prospects, talking about potentially what we think will happen in the draft coming up in just a couple of weeks here. Stoked.
David.
Oh, David, the man, the myth, the legend. What's up, brother? Appreciate you always coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So what's up, man? How you been? It's been a while since the people here on YouTube been seeing our faces. I mean, both of us been pretty dang busy lately. I know you're coaching baseball now. I've been, getting things going with my house, trying to get my house, rented out and stuff like that. So both you and I just been busy, life just, life comes through.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's been really interesting. Unfortunately, our first 2 games this week got canceled. So today
the weather out here, man. The weather's been the weather like you were talking about. It is crazy windy here, and we've been having a weird snow. It's April, and we got snow and crazy wind. So, welcome to the Midwest.
Yeah, it's a 45-mile-an-hour wind gust, so it kind of sounds like a tornado outside right now.
Nasty.
But we'll kind of get into it. I'm going to bring up the screen over here, or at least try to bring up the screen over here. So this is just ProFootballNetwork.com, mock draft simulator. There's plenty of free ones out there if you want to use one of them. Draft Network has a pretty decent one, but I think you have to pay up for that. PFF is decent as well too, but sometimes there's glitches out and I have to start over when I try theirs. So, and this one's just a little bit easier to navigate, at least for the stream. So that's why I went with that one. But the first pick overall is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Once again, They obviously had the first pick last year. And, when they first got the first overall pick, I'm like, it's probably been a while since somebody's had the first overall pick 2 years in a row. And then I remember the Browns had it 2 years in a row, Myles Garrett and Baker Mayfield. So it was
at least one of those picks paid off really well.
Hey,
Baker wasn't terrible. Baker's he's been better than, some of their quarterbacks in the past, but
so Baker's had one bad year, and then last year he was hurt like all year, pretty much, like 3 different injuries. And if he gets a chance to start again, he'll probably do pretty well. And I don't think it's fair to write him off at this point in time.
I mean, for that draft, dude, I feel like he was definitely a decent quarterback coming into that.
He's the third best one in that draft. So
he's no Josh Rosen, but
he's no Sam Darnold. But I mean, he's not Josh Allen, he's not Lamar Jackson, but he's the third best in that draft. They just happened to take him first overall. So and then we had all the commercials and all that other stuff. So without getting too far down the road, Jacksonville, I think a lot of people probably assume this pick's going to be Aiden Hutchinson. And I think there's probably 4 guys you could look at for the top pick overall. We got Aiden Hutchinson, we got Evan Neal, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. Some people like Iquem Magano out of North Carolina State. I am not the biggest fan of him, but there is some projection there. There's been mocks that have had him up there. And then Trayvon Walker is the guy that's really been rising lately. Sounds like he could be the kind of outside guy looking in. And the Jaguars might make a surprise pick with Trent Baalke as the GM. It would not be a major shock. And it would be kind of a Jaguars thing to do. But I think probably for this draft, we're just going to go safe and pick Aiden Hutchinson unless you have a major disagreement with that.
No, I feel like the some of the top guys, it's going to be, a lineman. It's going to be something like that, or like a defensive end or like a defensive tackle or something crazy like that.
Mm-hmm. And it's like important to know that they, obviously they have the other Josh Allen who's put their other edge rusher. They drafted Kayvon Chase on a couple years back in the first round. He just never panned out into anything, never developed. He's probably better for the 3-4 scheme. Sounds like they're going back to 4-3 this year. So if you get Aiden Hutchinson, if you got Josh Allen there, you got 2 guys who can rush the passer. You could make a case for an offensive lineman here, but obviously they have Cameron Robinson they brought back on the franchise tag. And then supposedly they like Walker Little, who they drafted in the second round last year out of Stanford, even though he'd pretty much not played in 2 years. So obviously the next one up is the Detroit Lions. Let's see if this brings up team needs or not here. Oh, well, it kind of brings up weird. Let's not worry about that then. So obviously the Lions could go a lot of different directions. I think part of what the Lions are trying to do right now is they're trying to kind of hype up Malik Willis, like they're interested in him just to trade the pick. I think that's honestly what they're trying to do. I don't think they're going to personally. I don't think they're taking Malik Willis at 2. There is some buzz about it, but I think a lot of it's just kind of a little smoke screen, try to get somebody else to trade up. So you could look at it a lot of different ways here. There a lot of rumors that it could be Trayvon Walker is the pick here. He's kind of that bigger edge, which if they are sticking to the Saints philosophy, they kind of like that bigger edge prospect. If probably not going to go offensive line, their offensive line's pretty set at this point in time with Taylor Decker and Panay Sewell. Frank Ragnow, hopefully healthy this year at center. Jordan Jackson's been all right. And then the other guard spot, they kind of patched it here and there and been all right there. So unless you're really drafting Evan Neal to play guard, which kind of feels like a reach at this point, probably not taking him there. Same thing with Ekwonu. So,
and all honestly, like they don't need to be drafting a quarterback here. I don't believe that they should be. If they want to maybe attack quarterback next year, they should be but at least be talking it up that they want a quarterback. The smart technique here would be try to trade back, have somebody come up and try to get Malik.
I think it makes a lot of sense to trade back, especially since they do have some extra picks already. Accumulate as many picks as you can the next couple of years, hit on some of these guys, and then you got a good team going forward. And by that point, it might be after DeAndre Swift time, but maybe you flip him into more picks too, like come next year. There's a couple different ways you can approach this.
There's a couple teams here that could easily trade up. The Falcons could trade up. And get Malik.
I don't think the Falcons.
I'm telling you,
with the draft capital
up there,
I think the Falcons are more likely to be a team that trades back than trades up, and that's what they should be trying to do at least, because they need as much talent as they can get.
I think they need a quarterback.
They need a quarterback, but they shouldn't draft it. Like I wouldn't draft anybody in this class. Like they might as well go from 8 and go back to like 16 or whatever, or wherever they want to go back to. Like say they trade back with the Saints, which is rare that happens in division, but if they can trade back with the Saints or the Steelers and somebody comes up and gets their guy at 8 and get those draft picks, because they need as much talent as they can get, because that team right now, Jake Matthews, it's Kyle Pitts, Jake Matthews, Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones, AJ Terrell. That's it. Like the rest of it, like everybody else on the team, pretty much you shouldn't even talk about. And that's a little disrespectful to Casey Hayward. I know that, but he's a veteran at this point too. So But in terms of the core pieces that they actually do have going forward for their team, there's like 5 guys. And you can't play football with just 5 guys.
No, I agree.
And I know we'll get there too with the Falcons too. Like a lot of people say they should take wide receiver because Calvin Ridley's obviously suspended. But Calvin Ridley's still going to come back next year. It's not like he's just never coming back. I mean, he could never come back, but that's a whole other story. But for the Lions here, it's kind of assumed that this pick's probably going to be an edge rusher. I think they're more likely to trade back than anything.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that.
There is the chance they could take Kayvon Thibodeau because I think they're a team that thinks they could at least deal with the perceived, issues of him. I don't think they're really as bad as people want to talk about. He's still a very talented prospect. So you can look at him. You could look at Trayvon Walker. I used to think they'd go Kyle Hamilton. Seems like the buzz on Kyle Hamilton's really fallen down lately. They could go corner, but they still have Jeff Okudah, who they drafted 2 years ago, but been hurt both years essentially. So he's still like halfway through his rookie season essentially. And then Owarye, that's his name. They draft all the corners with the hard to pronounce last names. He actually played really, really well last year too. So if him and Okudah, like if Okudah can just stay healthy and pan out, they're kind of set at corner. And then they obviously had Melifano, who they drafted last year too. They really just need a slot corner is what they need at this point in time. But without going too far down the rabbit hole there, they do need help at linebacker, but you can't draft linebacker at number 2 overall. And I'd even say this year, I wouldn't even draft a linebacker in the first round because there's so much depth at linebacker. You can just get a guy in the second or third round.
So I think the amount of people that are going to be on the offensive line is just, the depth of offensive line is crazy.
It is and it isn't. Because it's top heavy, but I think some of the second tier guys are pretty good. But there's like this tier kind of between tier 1 and like what I would consider the second tier, where you got like kind of the Trevor Pennings in the world, and you got like kind of some project guys in there too that I don't think are as safe as they've been in past years, if we put it that way. So I think probably Thibodeau or Trayvon Walker here. Do you have a preference?
Walker. Let's do the surprise. Throw Walker in there for the surprise.
I don't even know if that's a surprise anymore, because it seems like he's really been rising and Thibodeau has really been falling. So the Texans pick next. The Texans have pretty much needs a lot of places. You could draft Evan Neal. You could draft Evan Neal here to play right tackle. You could draft Kayvon Thibodeau to play end. And I know a lot of people are like, the Texans need end and all this stuff, right? But Greenard actually looked better last year. Jacob Martin looked all right. It's not like they're hurting that much there. You could make a case for Kyle Hamilton to come in and play safety. I mean, you could make a case for one of the corners. I'm not the biggest guy on Sauce Gardner, but I think he needs to go to the right scheme fit, which I think is going to be number 5 to the New York Giants, if I'm being honest.
But Mills is going to be the quarterback. I feel like they got at least, unless they draft somebody later, but, Mills is going to be the guy.
He's the guy this year.
Why not try to build a line now? Why not try to just build a line now? If you're going to bring somebody else in later, why not just try to build a line now? Like that makes more sense to me.
That's what good teams do, is they build a team and then you find the quarterback after that. So
you build a line. I mean,
and the thing with Evan Neal too is he has experience at left tackle. He's played guard. He's played right tackle. So he can play anywhere. And like Laramie Tunsil is the left tackle. They gave him a restructured his contract. So it looks like he's going to be sticking around. But if you have him and Evan Neal, you're pretty set. Titus Howard, I know he's kind of like, some people call him like a bust, but he's just kind of developed into a guard that's been all right. Justin Britt was okay last year at center. If they figure out that other guard spot, they could be kind of set there. So I don't think that's a bad pick.
Yeah, I feel like
Texans are, as a Texans fan, I love to see them trade back as well. But in this mock, we're not doing any trades. Like some people like to do mocks with a bunch of trades and that stuff, and it gets real crazy. It's hard to make realistic trades, even with a simulator and everything. And it's hard. Like, we don't really know who really wants to trade up and who doesn't. We're not that in tune with the NFL itself. The Jets are up at 4 here. And this is one of the interesting picks, because you could go offensive line with Aquanu here out of NC State. I think he profiles better as a guard long term. There's kind of questions if they're going to hold on to Mekhi Becton long term or not. George Fant is trying to work on a long term contract. He's actually played really well since he's left Seattle. But if we
talked about Charles Cross, didn't we, in one of our videos?
Yeah, I really like Charles Cross, but I think if we're going based on what we think is actually going to happen as compared to like what I would do, I think Aquanu is probably going to be the pick there, and this is a scheme that he would fit very well. And he might end up playing guard for the first year if Mekhi Becton is healthy. And then if George Fant doesn't come back, if they can't get him a long-term contract, then he could slide over to right tackle. Or maybe they even move Becton to the right tackle, since he did play some right tackle at Louisville. So I think Aquanu is probably the pick there. You could make a case for Kyle Hamilton, but they brought in Jordan Whitehair from Tampa Bay. I know Marcus May did leave, but they still have my boy Ashton Davis back there too, who's been pretty good when he's been healthy. So I think Aquanu is probably the pick here. We get down to the Giants at 5 here. So all you can say here is they obviously need offensive line help. So you can make a case for Charles Cross here. I think this pick's probably going to end up being Ahmad Gardner. He fits what Don Wink Martindale wants to do really well with the press man coverage, which is something that is going to fit him very well. Sounds like James Bradbury could still end up being traded. I don't know what the heck they do with the Dory Jackson. I don't think he fits Don Wink Martindale's system very well, but they do have my boy Aaron Robinson, who can play inside. He can play outside, that out of Central Florida last year, who is very good in press coverage as well. So I think even if you move on from Adoree Jackson, you still have Bradbury and Sauce Gardner and Aaron Robinson. You'd have a pretty good trio of corners right there. You could take Charles Cross, but I think he's still going to be like, this is the case though. If you're the New York Giants, do you think the Panthers are going to take Charles Cross at 6, or do you think they're going to take a quarterback? Because if you think they're going to take Cross at 6, then you have to take Cross at 5.
No, they're going to take a quarterback. I mean, they have to take.
They don't have to. I'm going to say that right now. The Carolina Panthers do not have to take a quarterback right now.
With the amount of ghosts,
Matt
the amount
Rule
of
has to
ghosts
take a
around that
quarterback,
play,
but Matt Rule does not have the final say.
he needs to take.
So here's the
Sam
Carolina
Darnold
Panthers.
is not the answer. That
Yeah.
dude sees so many ghosts on that every field he's on.
So are you going to reach on a quarterback this year who we don't know, who essentially is going to be a project at the very least?
I feel like Malik Willis with like a running back like Christian McCaffrey would be very helpful for a quarterback like that.
Yeah.
At least you at least have the option to hand the ball off or run the ball. And you have somebody that's at least talented enough and can make the defense a little bit more. What do you call it?
I don't
know. In tune or like
but the thing is,
they have to be very in tune of what McCaffrey's doing, right? And Malik Willis can at least at the same time take off. All they have to do is, the first year maybe. If Christian McCaffrey can actually stay healthy this year, that's a big if. And then maybe they play next year. Malik Willis by next year could at least be talented enough on that team to where he could drive that team next year to be at least a top 14 team.
But here's the other thing too. They are also a team that could move back too, just because they don't have a second round pick. They don't have a third round pick this year. They don't have anything. They can need to recoup some value. So I don't think they're a team that's going to take Malik Willis at all. And all signs point to Kenny Pickett if they take a quarterback. So if they think they could get Kenny Pickett at like 12 or something, they just trade back. Maybe with the Vikings want to move up to get Derek Stingley or somebody like that, or an edge rusher like, say, the New York Giants don't take Thibodeau, and somebody wants to trade up for Thibodeau at 6. That is a big value spot there. All of a sudden,
Vikings trade up to get Malik Willis.
Yeah, somebody's probably going to trade up in that situation, and then even if Carolina moves back a couple picks, they pick up a second or a third round pick.
I like that aspect.
Yeah, but without trades being in this, I think so. The big question here is just the Giants. If you believe the Panthers would take Charles Cross after you, because they could still take Charles Cross, they could still make a trade for like Baker Mayfield or something like that, and just have competition between Mayfield and Darnold. And if one of those guys pans out and you like them, you sign them long term. If you don't, you just draft somebody next year. But the thing is, yes, Matt Rule needs a quarterback to save his job, but Scott Fitterer and Tepper might not just want to go all in on one of these guys. And all signs point to Kenny Pickett if that's the pick. Matt Rule tried to recruit him to Temple. Dave Tepper, the owner, is a Pittsburgh alum and owns stuff in Pittsburgh. So so everything points to him. It's, everybody makes a big deal about the tiny hands and the gloves and all that too. But if he does go to Carolina, weather's not that bad there most of the time. They play in Tampa Bay too. That's not the worst weather in the world. And then they play Atlanta and New Orleans too. So those are 2 dome teams. So at least part of the year, you're not that bad off. So I think, I think we'll just do Sauce Gardner here in this situation, just at 5. I think that's too good of a scheme fit for the Giants not to do.
No, I agree. He's a beast
at this point. I think he's a little overrated, but I think this is the scheme fit he needs to go to really excel. And then we get to Carolina. I think without trading back, I think this is still Kenny Pickett. I really do.
So you think Kenny Pickett's going to go over Malik Willis?
Yes, I do. Because they're gonna if the whole play is to if the whole play is just to get the quarterback that you need to save your job, and you need somebody to play right now and try to be competitive, then it's Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, but I like so with the trade back. If they were to trade back, I like the option of them maybe grabbing someone like a Baker Mayfield, because at least in that system, he's better than Darnold, man. I feel like Darnold's been spooked enough, and by spooked, I don't mean the ghost in the field. He's been either hit or something weird has happened to him, where he's at least afraid to play on the field at a high at that high level, where everything's super fast. He's just afraid now. Something happened.
No, the issue with Sam Darnold is he never progressed. He had turnover issues at USC. He couldn't read a defense there. Never learned how to do it. And now, and his thing is, I would just want to scramble out of the pocket, and he can throw on the run, okay, but he can't do anything else, and he's not comfortable just sitting in the pocket. That's the
What's
biggest
crazy
issue.
is he has a really hell of a good spiral, but he throws it to the wrong team.
Yeah, he's just like he's a worse Jameis Winston essentially at this point, and it's not a good thing. So I think you just make the case at 6 here. This is probably going to be Kenny Pickett because I think we're doing this what we think is probably going to happen. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to move back
and get Pickett.
Yeah, because if Thibodeau's on the board here, somebody's going to trade up for him at 6. I think so. And then, so this is the part with the Giants. They can pick somebody here. If this is the real life situation, somebody could trade up for Kayvon Thibodeau. Somebody could trade up for Malik Willis if they really think the Falcons are going to take Malik Willis. So this number 7 pick could have a ton of value. That number 6 pick could also have a ton of value. Just depends on how the draft actually shakes out.
The value now at 7 after like Kenny Pickett's gone is just like
Willis, there's a lot of value
there, Thibodeau's there, like
yeah. If somebody really wanted to trade up for Charles Cross, they could do that too. If somebody really wanted to trade up for a wide receiver to jump ahead of New York, they could do that too. Or if they thought the Falcons really were going to draft a wide receiver. So I think here you can make a case for Kayvon Thibodeau here. That would make a strong case. But I think you, at the end of the day, you have to make this offensive line better. So I think Charles Cross is the pick. Thing with Charles Cross, though, is who plays left tackle between him and Andrew Thomas if they're on the same team. Charles Cross is pretty much play left tackle. Andrew Thomas actually did play some right tackle in college. So would they move him off after he had that second year of good development? I think Charles Cross could play right tackle, though I don't think it's a major issue. You can just kind of work that out. But if you get the bookends strong, and then you just kind of start solidifying that interior, which you can do in like rounds 2 and 3, that's kind of where you get some of that value. I don't think the value with the edge player of Kayvon Thibodeau is quite as great just because of how deep the edge class is. but at the same time, I think if you're the Atlanta Falcons here, you take best player available and you take Kayvon Thibodeau. I think you can make the case for Malik Willis. I don't think it's worth it, though. And I don't think they are a team that should trade back, as I kind of mentioned before. Yes, they need a quarterback, but they can always get one at the top of the second round, too.
So you already know who the Seahawks are taking then.
I don't know. Maybe like
that would actually be pretty. I think it would actually be pretty nuts, especially with a coach that likes to run the ball.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he would drive. I think he would drive Pete Carroll crazy though, because like Malik Willis is not safe by any means at all.
No, I know, but Pete Carroll's a competitor. That's all he does in life. He's just a competitor. That's all he does. That's why he has a basketball hoop at his at practice and in his like coaching room. Like there's a basketball, a hoop everywhere because he likes to compete.
I think Seattle is more likely to take somebody at the top of the second round for quarterback, if I'm being honest.
I don't know. With what's happening, and this is what's falling right now.
Yeah, but I just think that's more the situation, and they're going to try to take somebody a little bit safer than Malik Willis. Malik Willis does have that high upside, but if it comes down, if Pete Carroll has a say in it, he's going to want the quarterback that's safer, and just because they're going to run the ball, they're going to take shots when they can. But with Malik Willis, there's just so many variables there. So I think overall, we got Kayvon Thibodeau here for the Falcons. I think that one makes a lot of sense. Best player available. That's pretty much just how they need to build their team. They've not had a good edge rusher in quite some time. So Seattle here, obviously, we still got Kyle Hamilton that's on the board. He doesn't make a lot of sense since they have Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs already. They're both, Pro Bowl safeties. You can make the case for Malik Willis there. Do you want to draft an edge rusher? Do you want to draft a wide receiver? You could even make a case for Derek Stingley here at corner. They just lost DJ Reed. So this is just the case. Who do you think is the best player available on the board? Because some people might argue it's Kyle Hamilton. Some people might argue it's Derek Stingley. Some people might just say take Malik Willis. This is kind of the wide open pick. And maybe this is a spot where Seattle could even trade down too.
Yeah, I'd say Seattle could trade back.
Yeah, John Snyder loves to trade back too.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So for
me,
here's
who's going to trade up right now. I mean, Washington doesn't need a quarterback. Jets don't need a quarterback.
It's is the New Orleans Saints and the Pittsburgh Steelers, essentially.
I mean, because the Vikings aren't going to trade up because they showed last year they weren't going to trade up to get someone like
Justin Fields.
Yeah, Fields. Like they could have easily traded up to get Fields.
But it's a different GM too. But at the same time,
at this point right here, there's no point in trading up unless you feel like somebody's going to trade up over you.
Yeah, but if you
which happened to the fucking I feel like Fields last year, if they would have traded for Fields, traded up to get Fields, and then let him sit behind something like Cousins. Well, we already talked about my feeling in Cousins. He's a stat quarterback, if anything. At least he understands how to read the field. At least he understands how to be a field general. When you take somebody like Fields underneath your arm, who actually can run the ball, knows how to scramble, I feel like in that offense he would have done very well.
Yeah, it's also a different offense now too. So
yeah, now
there's a lot of what ifs.
It's still the players around him. I feel like the players around him would have helped him develop too, because you have an elite running back who is at least, he's injury prone, but he's at least intelligent when it comes to football. He knows what to tell his quarterback, when it comes to plays. And you have elite wide receivers, probably one of the top, 4 or 5, wide receiver, rooms, I would think. That's just my opinion.
So I think
he would have developed well on that team, I feel like.
Let's just go back to the Seahawks real quick though. So if it's me, this pick is either going to be Malik Willis. It's either going to be Malik Willis, Jermaine Johnson, or Derek Stingley. It would be, I honestly think Seattle would trade back in this scenario. I think the typical Seattle thing to do would be to take Derek Stingley and not take Malik Willis. But if you want to take Malik Willis, we can take Malik Willis. I don't care.
Who's the quarterback right now against in Seattle?
Drew Lock and Geno Smith.
Oh yeah, that's right. Drew Lock.
Hey, I feel bad for that kid though. That kid's had, what is it, like 5 different offensive coordinators in the last 6 or 7 years. He has potential.
What the opportunity he's had to shine, he's done nothing, especially with the talent he's had around him.
But
Cortland Sutton, dude. Noah Fant. I think, dude, both tight ends that he had were both, I think, premium tight ends.
Listen to me real quick. The first year when he was a rookie, came in, wasn't supposed to play at all that year. Went 4-1 as a starter. Mm-hmm. Second year in the league, he broke his ribs and was playing through it. Not easy to do as a quarterback.
No.
And then he was in a brand new system. Then on a COVID year where he had to learn a brand new system in a short time too. So he has not been put in a situation to succeed. Then they bring in Teddy Bridgewater, and Fangio starts Teddy Bridgewater because it's the Fangio way. If you wanted to win football games, you probably start Drew Lock because he gives you a higher upside as a team. Teddy Bridgewater is just Teddy Bridgewater. You know what you're going to get, and it's not going to be good. It's not going to be pretty.
I don't know. I feel like you kind of know what you're going to get with both of them.
There's still untapped potential when it comes to Lock, and it sounds like Seattle really likes him, but that could just be playing on all games too. But if you want to take Malik Willis here, I don't have a problem with it. It's just I don't think personally they're going to do that.
If they want to be a multifaceted offense, that they would do that instead of just being
it's just
run the ball and play defense, which is like which is normal. Like that's crazy. Both teams that I like are both the same style.
Vikings could be changing a little bit, but I mean, even when you talk about it, like Seattle though, you got Pete Carroll there, you got the offensive coordinator that came over from the Rams. It's kind of more that run-centric offense, not really like, getting the quarterback involved. Like it's just not a good situation for him to go into either.
I think if you want my opinion here is Malik Willis. But do you think that Drew Lock is going to be good enough to get them by? And I feel like better than me when it comes to some of this stuff.
I mean, it's just 1 year. Like they could just tank this year. Like here's the situation. What they could still trade away DK. Lockett's going to be harder to trade just because of his contract, but they might just be a fire sale and just be like what the Falcons are at this point. Like that would not surprise me if they look like that by the beginning of the season. And then you just throw Drew Lock out there and seeing what he's got. Like if he has anything at all, it's his shot. I just think they're.
It's like the Texans rolling with, Mills. I mean,
Yeah.
Mills isn't anything special. He's good enough to, do some stuff. He's intelligent enough to, make things work. And if Drew Lock can do that and at least get them by enough to like help them get a decent pick, and nobody gets hurt, and
Yeah, but
it sucks because I feel like the Seahawks are kind of an older team.
Yeah, but they moved on for Bobby Wagner. If Jamal Adams can prove he's healthy, they might trade him in the middle of the year next year. Recoup a little bit of value on that. Obviously, they're not going to get what they gave up for him, but that's a whole other situation for a different day.
No, you know what? Honestly, if you want my opinion, I said that, and I'm going to say the same thing. I think with the Vikings too is I think both teams here need to take defensive players. That's my opinion.
I just think based on who the Seattle Seahawks are, they're going to take Derek. Like if this was the situation, they would take Derek Stingley here.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they need to build back on what they're doing with the defense. Just at least have a stable defense. Play deep. Defense wins championships, right? And that's what everyone keeps saying. I mean,
and they lost, and the fact they just let DJ go like that. He played really well the last year and a half. So I think Stingley makes sense there. The Jets obviously are not taking a quarterback since they have Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
You could make the case for Kyle Hamilton here, but I still don't think they need to do that. I think this pick is obviously going to be a wide receiver. So you're looking at Garrett Wilson. So this pick is either Garrett Wilson, Drake London, or Jameson Williams. They have shown the desire to get.
It's gonna be like, who do they just have come out there? I thought it was Burks. I thought Treylon Burks was out there not too long ago.
They either want a bigger body or they want somebody with some speed, essentially. That's obviously they pretty much gave the same offer as Miami for Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill wanted to go to Miami since he's from close to that area. So if you believe this pick is just to get a wide receiver with speed, the pick's Jameson Williams. If you think to get some speed and a better all-round wide receiver it doesn't currently coming back from an ACL, picks Garrett Wilson. If you think they want the bigger body wide receiver, then Drake London. I'm good with Wilson. I think it's Wilson or Williams at this point, though. You could make a case here.
Garrett Wilson, probably.
You could make a little bit of a case here for Jermaine Johnson, but I don't think they're that bad at edge that they need to take one this early. They can get one in the second round. So
it's probably going to be Garrett Wilson. I think it's going to be Garrett Wilson.
I think there's a realistic chance it ends up being Jameson Williams if they really, really want that speed component. That would not surprise me, but I think Garrett Wilson's the safer play. Yeah, but
I mean, I'm not saying I like Jameson Williams a lot. Yeah. I thought he was a great receiver in college, like insanely great receiver in college.
Yeah, but I think Garrett Wilson makes sense here at this point. I think that's just going to be the safe pick. So the Washington football team's up now, and you can make a case for taking Malik Willis here. You can legitimately
the comrade or Commanders, right?
Yeah, I said football team at least. At least it wasn't the.
Such a terrible name.
Oh. So you can legitimately make a case for Malik Willis at 11 here. Carson Wentz is not a guarantee. I think they just kind of trade for him and hope like maybe this is better than what we already have. You can definitely make a case for Kyle Hamilton. Landon Collins isn't coming back. I think McCain's a free agent too. Don't quote me on that. And then Cam Curl's obviously still there. But
if Malik Willis goes to Washington, man, he's going to be a wasted talent.
I think there's a legitimate chance he goes there.
And it's going to be wasted talent, which sucks.
Well, if everything goes through like they're talking, then Dan Snyder might not own the team anymore. So,
well, that's true. That's true.
I think this makes sense for Malik Willis here because I don't think Carson Wentz is more than a placeholder at this point in time.
Damn it. You didn't want to let him fall to the Vikings?
Nah. He just signed Kirk Cousins for like 3 years. They ain't taking a quarterback.
Why?
So I think, what?
I said, I don't understand why they would do that. It's so stupid.
Because you got a top 10 to 12 quarterback. And in today's NFL, you just try not to lose those guys unless you have a guaranteed surefire guy.
You have a quarterback that can't win in prime time. So basically, you have a quarterback that cannot win a Super Bowl. You're guaranteeing yourself to not win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins.
But
no buts. There's no buts in that conversation.
You have talent on offense now. if you fix the defense again, they could make a run in the playoffs. They just need to get the
Yes,
defense
they're going to be
fixed.
good enough to have a shitty draft pick. That's what the Vikings are. They're good enough to have a bad draft pick. That's what their team
So
is.
I think this pick's pretty easy. I think this one's Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State, the defensive end. I don't know if they're going to hold on to Danielle Hunter long term or not. I really don't. But this is a guy that I think will fit in pretty well. This seems like they're switching to 3-4 defense. Jermaine Johnson, I believe, can play in either a 4-3 or a 3-4. So I think he's a good fit there. That makes sense. So Texans lucked out here.
What did we miss out on here, David? Who didn't run the ball in the Super Bowl?
Oh, Marshawn Lynch, Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
Always comes back to that. It always comes back to that. But I think Texans pick, if this is still on the board, and I think there's a realistic chance this could fall in real life because it sounds like Kyle Hamilton's really falling. So if he's there at 13, you just take best player available. No questions asked. So the Texans actually made out pretty well. They got Evan Neal and Kyle Hamilton. If this happens in real life, I'll be all right with this.
It's so crazy that you're like, so you're a Sox fan and a Texans fan.
And a Kansas fan.
And you're from where?
I grew up in Northwest Illinois. My grandpa was a bigger White Sox fan. I've been watching Kansas basketball since I was 11. When I was like 10 years old is when I first got into football, and the Texans were the new team. So I'm like, I'll pick the new team.
Yeah, it's crazy because I'm a Vikings fan. I mean, I like the Twins, but, I'm a Gamecocks fan when it comes to college sports. Because I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm down from there.
Yep.
So
we get to the Baltimore Ravens here at 14. This is an interesting pick. So let me go on a little bit of a rant here about a lot of mocks that I've seen for the Baltimore Ravens picking George Karlaftis out of Purdue. That pick does not make any sense for a scheme fit. I still believe they are playing a 3-4 defense. He can't play stand up, and he's not really big enough to play out wide in a 3-4. So that pick just doesn't make sense to me.
So you think they're going to take an offensive lineman, or you think
I think
an edge rusher?
I don't think it's going to be edge rusher. I really don't. Because they got Odafe Owe, who they picked last year already, who had a pretty good rookie season. They really like Tyus Bowser, who played pretty well the last couple of years. I think you could make a case that they could take offensive tackle here, since obviously Ronnie Stanley missed like all last season, and they don't really have much depth there. So you can make a case for that. You could make a case for linebacker. I don't think it's worth taking a linebacker at this point in time. You could make a case for Jordan Davis here because Brandon Williams, I believe, is a free agent, and he's already also getting up there in age. So I think Jordan Davis would make a lot of sense here too.
What about Trevor Penning?
I mean, he's there, but he's just one that, like I talked about before, you get into that group where it's kind of the developmental offensive tackles. And I don't know if I'm comfortable taking him this early. I'm not saying he won't go this early, like in real life. But I think if Jordan Davis is there at 14, this could be a very good landing spot for him. And I think it fill a need and makes some sense for Baltimore as well.
Yeah, I feel like an offensive lineman would be really, smart for a team like this, especially when you have a rushing quarterback like, Lamar, and giving him at least a little bit of time to throw to his receivers, because he has actually some really good receivers on that team, having an elite tight end and having some of these younger wide receivers, come out and ball out, if he has a little bit more time to throw instead of having to, just step up and run the ball. I feel like that makes sense for a team like this.
It really depends if Ronnie Stanley's healthy this year. I think personally they would go Jordan Davis in this case. I'm not sure Trevor Penning's the type of offensive tackle they want.
What about a guard?
It's early for guard. You usually don't see guards till like 20s. They could trade back. I think in this one, are you okay going Jordan Davis here though?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Like, it makes a lot of sense. Brandon Williams is a free agent. He's also old, so even if they did bring him back, I don't think they brought him back yet. So we get the Eagles.
Like this. I mean, I just feel like the Ravens should be, strengthening that offensive line, especially, keep your young quarterback healthy, especially with somebody who's using their legs like they do. You don't want his actual talent, which is his legs, not his arm. His arm is good, but his talent is in his legs. You want to protect somebody from getting hit in their legs all the time, anything like that. Protect that person.
Yeah, but what I'm just saying is I think personally there's guys that are going to be available in like the second and third round that fit more of the mold of what the Baltimore Ravens look for in an offensive lineman. And I don't really think it's Trevor Penning.
No, we were talking about this earlier with the offensive line. It's deep this year.
It's pretty deep, and I feel like there's this weird in between ground just where you got like that top 3 offensive tackles who should be relatively safe. You got Trevor Penning, Tyler Smith's kind of also in this area too, an offensive tackle where they're kind of more developmental guys, but they're kind of like in between that tier 1 that's kind of safe, and then the next tier that I view is pretty safe as well. So those guys could have really high upside, but they could also just flame out in 3 years. So I think it just comes down to the right team picking those guys. We are at the Eagles. The Eagles could go a lot of different directions. I think wide receiver makes a lot of sense for the Eagles. Drake London's still on the board, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think Drake London here. I don't know if he's going to fall this far in real life. It really just depends on how he.
Didn't they just have Chris Olave just came out there, right? I think he just went out there.
Every team has multiple guys coming out. So
no, I don't disagree with that at all. I think that the last guy that they had come out though was Chris Olave.
Yeah,
and I just
it's whatever schedule they show up on. But they have like 30 different guys. I don't think Olave makes sense for them because he's a similar type of wide receiver to what Devonta Smith already is. You want to get a little bit of a different body type in the room, which I think Drake London would make a lot of sense because you get that bigger body to go with Devonta Smith, who's the shiftier route runner that does have some speed over the top. And you could make a case for Jameson Williams if you really just want. Maybe they want that Z wide receiver that they thought Jalen Reagor could be. Obviously, he was not, which wasn't a surprise at all. But I think you want that bigger body type.
No, I agree 100%.
And even if you look at kind of the mold of like what the Colts did and kind of Nick Sirianni being from that a little bit, obviously Nick Sirianni was on it with Frank Reich kind of in Philly when they had Alshon Jeffrey, then they had Michael Pittman. There's always kind of been that bigger X wide receiver too. If you make Devonta Smith more of a Z wide receiver, could have some benefit there too, and then kind of mix and match from there. Obviously, they brought in Zach Pascal to play some slot and block in that capacity. So I think that makes a lot of sense for one of their 2 picks. But I think they could take it here because maybe they're afraid of the Saints taking a wide receiver, which obviously when we're getting to the Saints here. So the Saints have 2 picks, 16 and 19. One of these picks is probably going to be offensive tackle.
So I agree with taking a wide receiver here for the Eagles because if things don't work out with Hurts or anything like that, they have 3 picks, right? 3 first-round picks next year. So they're developing the receivers, get these receivers a little bit, especially so Smith will be going to his 3rd year. London will be going into his 2nd year. If they have to bring in another quarterback, anything like that.
Yeah. You still have Goddard. You still have most of your offensive line. Jason Kelsey will be retiring probably after this season. Lane Johnson's getting up there in age too, so you're probably going to have to look at replacements for him eventually. But
that's why I see the Eagles in this draft also taking an offensive tackle. Somebody maybe in the 2nd or 3rd round.
It'd probably be 3rd or 4th round, I would assume. And I think there's a lot of guys that fit the mold of what they look for in offensive line that are going to be in that range too. So I think Jameson Williams makes a lot of sense at wide receiver for the Saints. But the question is, did they trade to get 2 picks to have a quarterback in this draft or not? Because if they're going after a quarterback,
Matt Corral.
If they
they could go after.
It's probably Ritter. It's probably Ritter.
Why?
Teams love his leadership and chemistry in the room, in the locker room and stuff, and they love his athleticism and they love what he could be. I'm not sure he ever gets there though.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that pick. I mean, if they were to make something like that, I feel like something like that could wait. If Ritter goes that high,
he's going to go in the 1st round probably. Like by the time we get around,
first round, I feel like they could wait to 19. I feel like here they could pick something else and still wait.
Well, so here's the thing: What if the Steelers trade in front of you? Then one of those 2 picks, because the Chargers could
Because
move back.
there's other quarterbacks that are
move
just
back.
as good. I feel like there's other quarterbacks that are better.
Yeah. And in our opinion, there probably is, but in the NFL's opinion, how they had the board, I think this pick's probably, God, it's either an offensive lineman or a wide receiver. So they have 3 needs, and they have 2 picks essentially. So it just depends. Do you think they take the offensive lineman? They really need an offensive lineman too.
And why wouldn't they even wait till like what's their picks next year? What's the situation for next year for them?
Well, they just trade away.
Why wouldn't they wait till next year? Like they signed Jameson Williams or Jameis.
Yeah. So I think what if we just play? I think what we're gonna do, we'll play it out this way. Take Trevor Penning here, and then we'll probably take a wide receiver with the second pick.
It makes more sense, I feel like, to just develop your line, develop your receivers, let them get out and at least start playing, even if it's with Jameis, you know?
Yeah.
At least he hucks the ball. I mean, he hucks the ball, man. At least he's going to make these receivers go out and try to get the ball. And if next year they have to come out and get a quarterback, they do that, you know?
Mm-hmm. So I think this pick is Trevor Penning because you're afraid that the Steelers, or not the Steelers, the Chargers might pick him after you.
Mm-hmm.
And Penning, I think, would actually make sense for the Saints. Teron Armstead, when he first came out, he was kind of a little raw, but athletic at the same time, too. So it's kind of a similar mold there. Then for the Chargers, they can kind of take whatever they want at this point, honestly. God, because they're kind of set for the most part at most positions. Do you want to add a third wide receiver with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen already there? If you could get a burner like Jameson Williams, that would make sense.
Mike Williams is injury prone. I mean, I wouldn't say injury prone, but he's somebody who's an aggressive wide receiver. He goes up and he
falls hard.
As hell. Yeah,
he falls hard and he gets hurt. So obviously,
Keenan Allen is just he's an aging wide receiver. I mean, he's still an elite talent, but he's aging.
Yeah. So Jameson Williams. They did pick Josh Palmer last year. They brought back Jalen Guyton, who's he can only run 2 routes. That guy runs a 9 route and he runs a slant route, and that's it. And he's fast, but he can't do anything else. So
I feel the defense is really good. I mean, that defense is at least their cornerbacks and their safeties. I mean, they're good back there.
They're an improved defense. They could still probably get better along the defensive line, but I don't think there's a guy that you need to reach on at this point. You could make a case for linebacker. Maybe you take like a Devin Lloyd here, but I think Devin Lloyd is very similar to Kenneth Murray they drafted a couple years ago and hasn't really turned out. So I don't know if they'd be too keen about that.
I think it would be dope for this team. He's
and then receiver, with that, with Williams, you get the deep threat, and you don't have to use Mike Williams deep, which they didn't like doing last year, and that might help keep him healthier too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love Jameson Williams. He's elite.
And then obviously you got Herbert to throw the ball deep. So you have 3 really good wide receivers there. You could make a case for offensive line. Maybe you take a guy like Zion Johnson there. Zion Johnson does offer some versatility playing guard, center. He's played some left tackle before, so maybe you could kick him out to right tackle in that situation.
Maybe
so we
someone like that makes sense for the Eagles then.
He kind of does. Because then you have some chess pieces with him and Landon Dickerson for next year. But do they want to do they want to use a first round pick on a guy like that?
David, there's no way this shit's happening. If they take a quarterback this year, their fucking franchise is stupid. There's no. That's so dumb. That'd be such a
not this year. So you could make a case for linebacker. They obviously need help at linebacker, but they have not drafted a linebacker in the first round since the 1980s. So that's unlikely to happen.
I like the Zion Johnson pick here.
Knowing the Eagles, this will be a weird pick. Karlaftis would make some sense. I've seen him mocked there before, but Barnett did come back on a small deal. It's a 1 or 2 year deal. I can't remember off the top of my head. So I don't know if they need to bring him back or need to get somebody like Karlaftis. Johnson does make some sense. You could look at corner here. I'm not sure if there's a great scheme fit for their corners at this point in time. Obviously, we took wide receiver early, So this might be a pick where they just trade back anyways, but we could do a Zion Johnson pick here just to kind of build up that depth for now, and then
I think it's
obviously
smart
some of
for a
those
team like
future.
this to have just build that line. You're going to be losing one of your best pieces. Here soon on the line. He's a center, which is different. But build that line, keep it at least strong and young. And I mean, I like Jalen Hurts, man. I'm a big Jalen fan, and I feel like if they can just build some stuff around him, he could be at least good enough to where next year they could just keep building in different places. Like they don't need to draft a quarterback if they can keep him healthy and keep him, doing what he's talented at.
Yeah. Their biggest problem this last year is they didn't know what kind of offense they wanted to be for like the first 5 or 6 weeks of the year. So now that they kind of got that figured out, they could have some success. And,
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts is somebody I don't bet against, and he gets better every single year. So there's no point in drafting a quarterback at this point in time, especially in a weak quarterback or a weaker quarterback class. With the New Orleans Saints here, this could be a quarterback. It could be Desmond Ridder. I don't like Desmond Ridder that much. I think the fact that they don't have Sean Payton there now means they probably wouldn't try to bring in somebody to develop as much. Maybe they take a chance later on. I think they wanted a fast wide receiver here. Obviously, Jameson Williams went off the board. So I think this pick's probably going to end up being Chris Olave at that point.
Sky Moore.
I don't think that's what they need at this point.
I know.
I don't think Sky Moore, and Michael Thomas. If Michael Thomas is going to be there, so it just doesn't make sense at that point. Olave makes too much sense there. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, do they draft a quarterback? I think the Steelers got screwed here because they really need. This should be an offensive lineman, and I don't know if you take an offensive lineman now.
You know what? Give him Sam Howell.
You could, okay, but we're trying to do what we think they're going to do. I don't think they're going to take Sam Howell if they take a quarterback.
Why? I feel like Sam Howell is at least the most, ready quarterback right now here.
They want a more athletic guy, so it'd probably be Ridder in this case.
They want a more athletic guy. They had Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, that's why they want some more athletic.
He was really good quarterback for that team. What does it matter? Yeah. The system worked for someone like that.
Yeah, but it's a completely different offense too.
Same coach.
I think it's more likely to be, since Matt Canada is still the offensive coordinator, it's more likely to be Matt Corral or Desmond Ridder that's more familiar with the RPO system. I get Sam Howell did run it a little bit the last year, but it's more likely to be one of those guys if they want to keep that in place. You could make a case for a cornerback here. You could make I don't know if you could do Carl Office there.
What sucks to
offensive line makes sense.
What sucks to say is, the Steelers did lose a quarterback. So, it makes sense for them to go grab a quarterback.
Yeah, I think offensive line's their best bet though in this situation. It's Desmond Ridder or offensive line at this point, pretty much. With what they would do. You could make a case for picking up Kenyon Green here at guard, play him next to Dan Moore. They obviously played together in college next to each other, kind of sometimes. Kenyon Green got moved all over around. So you could make a case for Tyler Linderbaum here at center and move Kenyon Green back over to guard where he played in college. I think not Kenyon Green. God. Who's the guy? I can't even think of his name right now. The guy that was playing center out of Illinois for them this year. Kenyon Green makes a lot of sense here, though. I think at offensive line, he's also a guy that's very versatile, played pretty much every position.
Well,
unless you really want to take Desmond Ridder.
What are the Steelers going to do this year at quarterback then?
Trubisky. He's not that bad.
I never said he was. I never said. Hey, hold on. I never said Trubisky's bad, but they're gonna have to develop him.
They win 8-8 with Mason Rudolph and Doug Hodges.
Yeah,
they can win 9 games with Trubisky.
And the crazy thing is I liked Trubisky in the system he was with the Bills. Like if Allen would have went down, I feel like he would have done well.
I think he can do well in this system too. I think it'll fit him very well. and what they want to do with the system, I think actually fits Trubisky well because he's a little bit mobile too. So they can
I
run
like
some of that
Trubisky. I actually think he's a good quarterback. I mean, he's a sustainable quarterback, I should
say. He's an average quarterback, doesn't make the best decisions, doesn't have the greatest arm strength in the world, but he can give you at least what Ben Roethlisberger gave you last year, at the very least, with some legs.
I think this team needs to go after a wide receiver too at some point.
They might get somebody to replace in the slot, or somebody that they can move Deontay Johnson in the slot more full time. But I think that's going to be a 3rd, 4th round pick. But I think, if I'm remembering right, I think they like Alex Pierce out of Cincinnati a lot too, which if they draft Ritter, you might just go get his wide receiver from college too.
Let's give him Ritter then. Let's do it.
I
don't think so. I don't know. You know what? I don't think so. I think that they just roll with Trubisky here. I mean,
let's just give him an offensive lineman then. We'll just give him Kenyon Green. Yeah. So now we get to the Patriots. Patriots need help. So
let's give him 3 tight ends.
No.
I'm just kidding. That's because it's crazy that they did that shit last year.
You could make a case for linebacker here. I don't think they'll take linebacker because I don't think the scheme fit for their linebackers here at this point. You could look at Andrew Booth, a corner. Obviously, they lost J.C. Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I might make the most I think the most Patriots pick ever would be picking Daxton Hill here. Because he's a guy that can play safety. He's a guy that can play nickel corner. He's a guy that can play a little bit of outside corner if you really need him to. That feels like a Bill Belichick guy.
I feel like the Patriots what they would do here is what they would trade out of the 1st round.
Maybe. Or they trade up for some like weird guy.
So what do you think? What are you going to give him?
I think Daxton Hill is like the Patriots. Like he'd be the Patriots guy where he can play pretty much any defensive back position they asked him to. And, Jason McCourty, or which McCourty's still there? Jason or Devin? I can't remember off the top of my head.
That was Devin McCourty.
But he's getting up there in age. He's kind of done a similar role throughout his years. That give him a sizable replacement for him. So that would make sense. Yeah, unless you want to get one of the other. Like you could give him a regular corner, but I think Daxton Hill would kind of fit what they want to do.
I agree with that.
He just feels like a Patriot guy because he plays all over. So we get to the Packers. The Packers are going to screw up their pick somehow.
Treylon Burks. They need to draft a receiver. I mean, dude.
They don't like Burks.
They don't like Burks. Lazard King. What the hell are they thinking?
They don't like Burks, though, supposedly.
They need a receiver, man. How do you not draft a wide receiver in the 1st round? You just went and paid.
The Packers. It's the Packers. That's how.
Dude, they're going to piss off Rodgers again.
So
he's gonna retire. You didn't draft a receiver again. I'm retiring.
So I don't think they actually drafted. I don't think they actually draft a wide receiver at 22. I think they'll draft one at 28. Because that feels like the Packers thing to do.
Mechie?
Oh no, God no. But I think they'll draft another position here first.
Christian Watson's another guy I kind of like.
I love Watson. So the Packers, they have a couple different needs. They need help along the defensive line. Not really there here at this point in time. I guess you could look at Devontae Wyatt, wherever they got him at. I think I got Winfrey higher than him. That's weird. So Devontae Wyatt could make some sense there. If they want to go another edge rusher, they could. Maybe they go Carl Office. Kind of a 3-3 team too, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. God, not pretty. They brought back what's his name at linebacker, Andre Campbell. They brought him back. There's a lot of people.
They'll draft another quarterback.
Corner?
Just kidding.
Oh, they actually do need. They do have a need at slot corner.
Even though they're quarterback.
Quarterback, yeah. They do have a need at slot corner, so you could make a case for drafting Trent McDuffie here.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
I'm not the biggest fan of Trent McDuffie. I think Kyler Gordon, his teammate, will actually be the better NFL player, but as of right now, he's probably the better player, but long-term, I don't see it. He's the guy that's, I think, has to play slot at the NFL level. Roger McCreary's another guy that's kind of like that too. But do you draft a slot corner at 22? Packers might.
Yeah, they might. I feel like they can trade back here if they wanted.
Feels like a Packers pick. We'll do it. Even though they got Rasul Douglas, they got Jair Alexander, and they got Eric Stokes, who was actually slightly better as a rookie than I thought he'd be. Rasul Douglas played really well for them last year, but they don't have a slot corner right now. Like, as of right now, they're probably moving Jair Alexander to the slot and playing like Jalen Ramsey does. That's probably what's going to be. But now, if you have some of these health questions with Jair Alexander once again, then you have that guy that could come in and play slot. Maybe takes a little bit of time to develop.
So could you see here? Could you see this team right here taking a running back? You see them taking a running back here?
I see them taking Treylon Burks. But at the same
time, they just signed AJ Green, though. You see that?
They did. So here's the thing, though, too. If they took Burks, they couldn't even figure out how to use Rondo more last year. So,
which sucks because he had like a second game or first or second game he had an elite like in fantasy.
He's good,
crazy good game, and they just did nothing the rest of the year.
I think I'll tell you who I think this is probably going to be an edge rusher. I don't think Karlaftis fits in 3-4 though. I really don't. They might try to make it work though. It's the Cardinals. No, I don't think that's somebody Van Joseph would like. I think this probably end up being like a Boye Mafe or somebody like that. It could end up.
You don't think this team looks at like a Breece Hall?
No, if they're going to get a complimentary back for. They're going to get a complimentary back for Connor, who's going to be like a pass catching back. I don't think they waste a first round pick on it.
I love Connor, but he's still got that, He's
really good.
Yeah, I never said that. I never said he wasn't. It's the cancer
thing
a little bit. That shit can come back anytime, bro.
Do we go defensive? So this one's probably defensive line. They could go corner too. Defensive line, corner, or edge rusher, essentially. So if it's edge rusher, it's probably like a Boye Mafe type. If it's defensive line, it's probably Devontae Wyatt out of Georgia. And if it's corner, we could. Kaiir Elam's probably the pick. I don't think it's Booth, even though I like Booth better. But I think Elam would fit their system better. So defensive line, edge rusher, or corner. Just pick one. That's going to be the pick.
Edge.
So we're going Boye Mafe for the Cardinals then. Where the heck you go? I just seen him. There he is. They have him a little bit lower, but a lot of people are pretty high on him. He's a very toolsy edge rusher that going to need a little bit of development, but I think he's a guy the Cardinals that actually like. Cowboys. They need offensive line. Well, this is Treylon. Okay, this is what the Cowboys are going to do, so it's Treylon. It's Jerry Jones. It's Jerry Jones in Arkansas.
He likes flash.
He likes Arkansas. Now we get down to Buffalo. So Buffalo is, do you take Karlaftis here? They drafted a bunch of defensive ends in the last few years. Haven't really fully developed them yet. Where do you take the corner? It's probably going to be the corner. It's probably going to be Andrew Booth here, so I'm not going to waste my breath too much on this one. Now, Tennessee. Tennessee is a team that plays a 3-4 that I feel like would draft George Karlaftis and try to develop him. Or they draft Ojabo, who's already hurt, because the Titans love drafting guys that are already hurt.
I think Karlaftis. Especially with the value that's already there. Like, you can follow him.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's 15 on their board, but like a lot of people would have him going around this range anyways. You could make a case for linebacker. You can make a case for offensive line here. God, I think they brought Ben Jones back, so you can't draft.
I feel like they need to develop that defense.
Yeah. So, but do you take Karlaftis here, or do you take Ojabo and let him sit for that year and recover and then develop?
They need help now.
But the Titans are that team that draft the guy. They always draft the guy that's injured too.
You're right, but the team's aging. You got a running back that's now developing. He has I'm somebody who's going to be chasing Derrick Henry while everyone's afraid of him. That's just me.
He had a freak injury. He's
Yeah,
gonna be
freak
fine.
injury. I mean, yeah, everyone says that he was overused. Well, at the same time, yeah, he was overused. Like, he used the shit out of him in high school. He used the shit out of him in college.
He's used to it.
He used the shit out of him when he got the opportunity to play, because people don't understand how many. I mean, he had an amazing running back in front of him in DeMarco Burnett, you know. So I mean, he sat a couple years, you know, and somebody that is that size, like their muscle memory, their muscle.
He's not normal.
Doesn't. Yeah, he's not a normal person, human being. Like, the shit that he can do is ridiculous, and his muscle is gonna redevelop. Like, and you saw it. I don't know if you saw it happen, but they showed it in the replay. He stepped on someone's foot, and when he stepped on someone's foot, after that next play, they showed him go down. It was right after that play. They showed him step on that guy's foot, and that's what happened. It was just some freak injury.
Yep.
So I feel like, I mean, he's still, I mean, but you got Tannehill, who's an aging quarterback. I mean, he's okay.
They need to replace him, but
yeah,
that's a whole nother story for a different day.
But I feel like they can't just wait. You know, waiting is just not.
We'll give him Karlaftis then, because they feel like a team that tried to make him work.
They have to try to win. They have to win now. It's a win now team. Like, you have these players that are good. Like, you have a Derrick Henry who can run the team. Like, you take advantage.
All the guards gone. All the guards are gone. What do we have for interior offensive linemen? We get down to the not so pretty there. Linderbaum don't make sense. I don't think that. You could make a case for Breece Hall to Tampa.
They just got Leonard. They don't want to give that. Yeah, I know, but they don't want to.
Did he sign how long a deal did he sign?
Doesn't matter. They don't want to spook him. They need him to run well. There's no way they're going to do that. I mean, let's see.
Probably draft. They probably draft corner then.
It makes sense to have a defensive heavy team because, you know, especially with, you know, having who you have at quarterback there, he's used to having a team that's defensively developed.
Or do they just get like the? I can't remember.
I like your corner pick.
Did Sue come back or not? I can't remember. I can't remember if Sue came back or not.
Looking now.
Because if he didn't come back, they'd probably take Devontae Wyatt here. But if he did,
it says he's a free agent.
So we'll just give him Devontae Wyatt here, defensive line. Because that makes sense. I think he'd be a decent fit for them overall. We're back to the Packers. Now the Packers are actually going to take a wide receiver this time. And I don't know. So now they have Sammy Watkins. So they have the bigger, speedier wide receiver. They really like Sky Moore, supposedly.
I like Sky Moore a lot, man. Like, you really talked me into him.
So the Packers and the Chiefs both supposedly love Sky Moore.
Then here as a Packer, you take him because he's gonna be gone.
Yeah, so I think they take him. Some people think that they're going to take George Pickens. I don't really see it.
I like Moore, dude.
Chiefs here though are going to take either a corner or defensive end and a wide receiver. So we're going to give him a wide receiver. I think this might be just me talking inside because I really like this fit if he goes there. Is Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. I think he is very, very similar to what Tyreek Hill is. He's not Tyreek Hill speed. He's not Tyreek Hill good, but he's a similar type of player. Where he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's pretty quick, runs routes well, can kind of go up and get the ball for a guy of his size. So a knockoff version, let's just put it that way. So I think that one makes a lot of sense. If he goes there, rookie drafts, I'm going to be very excited.
Yeah,
I'm not the biggest Jahan Dotson fan in the world either, but I think that's like the perfect landing spot for him.
I agree.
Then we get down to their other picks. So their other pick is either a defensive edge player or a corner. if we're looking at edge, you're kind of taking Ojabo, taking a risk on him. I don't think Ebiketie is probably more like a second round pick. So they're probably taking corner. You could take. So now here's where you get down to it. You want to take Carrier Elam. Not sure he's the greatest scheme fit, but it could work. Or you could take a Roger McCreary, move him into the slot, and then move God, what's the guy's name? L'Jarius Sneed back out to the outside. I don't know.
I think I like that option better.
Maybe. Or you take Kyler Gordon and hope for the upside.
I see them. Honestly, I see him trading back.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, this makes sense for corner here. Whatever. We'll give him McCreary. Why not? And then the Bengals actually did fix their offensive line for the most part. Linderbaum's still here, though, so they'll probably just take him.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense because they can move Ted Karras to guard. They brought in the Kappa from Tampa Bay at guard. Their offensive line is pretty good now, actually. So, and now we got now we're back to the Lions. This pick could be a quarterback, very likely. It could also be like Christian Watson. But Christian Watson might be their pick at like 34 too. So, let's see who else is available.
I see someone like Matt Corral falling here.
Some people will say this be a linebacker like a Devin Lloyd and a Kobe Dean. We didn't really pick those in here, but
what is a quarterback you see falling to this team though?
I think Sam Howell was an excellent fit for the Lions. Personally,
I love Howell, but I feel like they're gonna be like, well, we need somebody that can run the ball. Like, like
Howell can run the ball. Howell's a better runner than Matt Corral.
But I can see a team like them doing something like that.
Well, you could say which one's more the Dan Campbell guy, but they're both tough as shit. So, just give me. I'm just gonna go Howell.
I'm going Howell. I love Howell.
Let's see if we can get the full results again. Why is it tiny? Okay, so we're gonna go through this real quick since this was a 1-round mock draft of what we think might happen.
Why is it tiny?
I don't know.
It's so funny.
I don't know. But,
you can hit the plus sign. What do you have, a Mac or what? I think. Do you have a command button?
I don't know.
If you hit command button and the plus sign, usually it'll make it bigger.
I don't know what the command button is, so
it looks like that little thing that's like a hashtag, but it's got like loops in it.
I don't know. So we had Jacksonville Jaguars taking Aiden Hutchinson, number 1 overall. Trayvon Walker going to the Lions. Evan Neal to the Texans. And Cram Aguanu to the Jets. Ahmad Sauce Gardner to the New York Football Giants. Then we got Kenny Pickett to Carolina. We do think they'll trade back, though, and then pick him later, probably. Charles Cross to the Giants. Kayvon Thibodeau to the Falcons, which makes sense as best player available, but they're another team that could really trade back. Derek Stingley to the Seattle Seahawks. Garrett Wilson to the Jets. Malik Willis to the Washington Commanders.
Well, it should be a Vikings. Vikings will trade up to get that.
Vikings to Jermaine Johnson. They might trade up for Kayvon Thibodeau. I wouldn't be surprised about that. Kyle Hamilton to the Texans. Jordan Davis to the Baltimore Ravens. Drake London to the Eagles. Trevor Penning to the Saints. Jameson Williams to the Chargers. Kind of a luxury pick there. Zion Johnson to the Eagles to beef up that offensive line. Chris Olave to the Saints. Kenyon Green to the Steelers to beef up their offensive line. Daxton Hill being the prototypical Patriots pick. And then we got Trent McDuffie being a Packers pick because it's the Packers. They need a slack quarter, and they're just weird. So, Boye Mafe to the Cardinals, kind of upside edge pick there to replace Chandler Jones. Treylon Burks to the Cowboys because it's Jerry Jones picking an Arkansas boy. We got Andrew Booth Jr. to the Bills. George Karlaftis to the Tennessee Titans. Devontae Wyatt to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sky Moore to the Green Bay Packers. Jahan Dotson to the Kansas City Chiefs. Roger McCreary to the Chiefs as well. Tyler Linderbaum to the Bengals, and Sam Howell to the Lions. So there was a couple probably notable names that we probably didn't pick in there. Obviously, there was no linebackers. Nakobe Dean's been hurt. sounds like he's going to fall out of the first round altogether. Devin Lloyd probably gets picked somewhere in the first round. Just kind of as we were going, there's some other value that popped up, and then the teams had other needs. Probably gets picked somewhere in the first round, though. And then Breece Hall might go round 1. Really have no idea at this point in time, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, Breece Hall, I feel like I told you, there's some places I feel like he'll fall. I still think to the Cardinals would be an all right spot, but you don't. Only reason I think of that is because Connor can't be doing what he's doing with what health issues he's had. I mean, yes, he can do it, but I feel like if he's doing it by himself, unless they find somebody to come in, Chase Edmonds did a lot. He did a lot. I feel like they both were doing enough to where they were both relevant. And if they don't bring somebody in like that, I feel like Connor could break down fast.
Yeah, but
and I think Connor's a really good a beast, man. Watching the videos of him throwing logs over his head, you know how much strength you have to do to be able to do that. That's
but
crazy.
So here's the thing with Breece Hall. Do you take Breece Hall in the first round or do you take Rachaad White in the third round? Because to play the same exact role with James Conner there. That's kind of the thing where you just kind of got to determine.
I feel like he's the next guy up, right? Like he'll be the next guy up. Like Conner will be gone next year.
How long a deal did he sign? It was more 1 year, wasn't it?
Doesn't mean he won't be gone. Like it's a health thing, man. I'm telling you, if he can't stay healthy, cancer breaks you down, man. Cancer is crazy. And wasn't it lung? Was it lung cancer or something like that? Or was it
I don't even remember what it was off the top of my head.
It might have been
this has been what, 6-7 years now.
It's crazy though. And then they talk about people having COVID. I'm not big on that shit, but when somebody actually has a real COVID, when they get really affected by it, it actually does affect your lungs, but you have to be really hit hard by it.
Mm-hmm. But
it's recovering from that stuff sometimes.
So some of these ones is just you could take this player or you could take a different player, and a lot of the times it's just going to come down to the value too.
And you were talking about him maybe potentially falling to the Bucks, but that to me yes, it's probably a good call, but at the same time, it's going to scare somebody like Fournette, who they had to
I don't think Fournette's that worried. Gio was just a 1-year deal, right?
I could see Breece Hall even falling to a team or them getting
I don't
unless they really think that Singletary is the answer, the Bills.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Singletary is a good running back, but at the same time, maybe someone like the Bills is hey, we want to win now, and Singletary's not doing what we need to do.
The Bills are kind of nice because they're a team that don't have a ton of needs, but at the same time,
I feel like it would be a luxury pick. And Zach Moss is not paying off, dude. He's not the answer there. He's not good. It's just my opinion, but I don't think he's good, especially when Singletary was trying to get beat out by him. And he did, and Singletary still showed out at the end of the year,
It took 3 years to get there, but
yeah, I know. But Zach Moss was supposed to be the guy to come in and take his job, and he's not.
Yeah, well, Moss can't stay healthy. That's his problem.
So why
he's fine when he's healthy, but
Breece Hall is somebody that I feel like in that offense could do really well. It's a running offense.
I just think they're probably going to take a corner. Or they're probably going to take a guard or something. And then they'll probably take running back, maybe in the second round is what it seems like. Maybe they'll even trade up in the second round and grab one of them. But I don't think they're running. And that's the thing. I don't think these running backs are going to go as high as most people think they are. A lot of mocks are mocking guys like Kenneth Walker to the third round now.
Well, we already know he's a one-dimensional running back.
Yeah, well, teams don't value running backs as much as they used to. That's pretty obvious. It's
crazy because they're bought. I mean, not saying that I have any thing against running backs, but you definitely do take a lot of fucking hits, man. And the amount of work you do with your legs, you just get broke down a little bit easier. There's not guys like Adrian Peterson and stuff like that anymore. Guys that can get destroyed and then come back and have an elite, a better year than they were when they were healthy.
Yeah, well, that's the difference between wide receiver and running back when you talk about it, because running backs get hit on every play. If they get the ball, they're going to get hit. If they don't, they're either pass blocking, they're probably getting smacked. And running wide receivers is just okay, you might get some press coverage, you might get hit if you catch the ball, but that's why there's the longevity there.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking a lot on your legs and stuff by running and stuff like that, but it doesn't even matter. Running backs are still doing the same thing. They might be running out to the left, or running out to the right, or taking that hit to protect the quarterback. Or if they get the ball, they're getting hit by a lot of people. Wide receivers usually getting hit by one or two people.
Yeah.
Running backs getting hit by the whole line, by everybody. Like they're getting whacked.
And then even with that too, just the way it's going to the 17 game schedule and everything else too, it's just like most teams are using multiple running backs at this point in time. So how much do you value your 1A running back to your 1B running back? So do you really want to invest a second round pick in a guy? Like we seen it last year, like Michael Carter fell down to the 4th round, and like he's not a workload running back or anything like that, workhorse, but he's still a guy that probably should. What?
I'm not a Michael Carter fan. I don't think I'll ever will be.
I'm a big Michael Carter fan.
It's just who he played with. It was just you're surprising the defense at that point. You've already worn the defense. It's just my opinion. It's my opinion.
But he was more efficient than Javonte Williams in college. Not at breaking tackles, but everything else, he was more efficient. And he was the guy first, and then Javonte came along.
Yeah, but you're supposed to keep that guy at bay if you're the guy.
Hey, Antonio Gibson couldn't even get away from playing wide receivers one year.
Well, yeah, we already know what's going on with Gibson. They're already shopping. That team's already shopping.
Hey, they brought in all 3 top running backs to visit them.
So anybody out there, we're already trying to tell you now, like be selling. You should have been sold, Gibson.
Should have sold when McKissick went to Buffalo. But that's a whole other story for a different day.
Yeah, they got McKissick back, and they're start shopping another one. So it's just like, what the fuck? Like Gibson's done, dude. Unless they try to trade him.
I mean, I don't think he's done, but his value's shot if they draft another running back in like the first round.
Definitely if they draft another running back, his value is shot. But
yeah,
I don't know. McKissick showed enough to what.
And everybody's like, oh, he was a wide receiver in college. They should let him use the ball. He played wide receiver for 1 year in college. J.D. McKissick played wide receiver for 4 years. What?
Why don't they just push him out to wide receiver and draft a running back?
Because McKissick played wide receiver for 4 years at Arkansas State. Antonio Gibson played 1 year
wide receiver and drafting running back. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but if they're gonna move anybody to wide receiver full time, it'd be him or McKissick. But now they got Curtis Samuel. If they draft another wide receiver, then they got McLaurin, and then Samuel moves to the slot. So the problem, if Curtis Samuel's healthy, which who the heck knows if that'll ever happen? Like he kills the value of everybody on that team essentially. And it's not because Curtis Samuel's good, or it's not because Curtis Samuel's valuable. He just hurts everybody else.
All right, I got dogs barking. Let's get out of here. Tell them where to find you at, brother. Appreciate it. Actually, you know what? First of all, I appreciate you coming in with this awesome hot content. I mean, shit, this is amazing. This is great. Good idea, and let's keep this going.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we can get another one going. We probably can get another one going in a couple days. Maybe more so what we would do.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them where to find you real quick.
Maybe even working a couple of trades in there, but we'll see. So you can find me at Coach Craig Sport on Twitter. You can find me on Coach Craig Sports at YouTube. You can find me on patreon.com/Coach Craig Sport. I just finished up my spreadsheet that will be on the Patreon as well. It has all of the testing measurements from the combine, from the pro day as well for pretty much every single prospect that tested. Some of these guys aren't even getting drafted, but it's all in there. If you guys are interested in that, join the Patreon. And then obviously you can find me on the Stacks app as well at Coach Craig Sports.
I got crazy dogs barking. Anyways, you can find me everywhere at JCMoneyDesign. Find me on Twitter. Find me on Instagram. Find me pretty much anywhere. We're going to be doing this a little bit more often. We were on hiatus for a little bit, but yeah, we're going to be getting back at it, doing some awesome stuff here. It'd be sweet to do some more mocks to where we can do some real life, fantasy mocks, like maybe like a 10 rounds, and we'll just do like 30 seconds and we'll do something crazy like that. Maybe just 10 teams, but we're going to start doing mocks again because mocks are fun and very interactive, which I really like this channel to be. Is very interactive. So I appreciate you being here as always, my brother. I appreciate you being a part of my life, my brother, because you bring a lot of joy. But shout out to everyone that's out there. Shout out to David, who's always out there coming through with us. But appreciate everyone being here. And till next time.
Yes, sir.
Peace out.